Hello, I'm Dominic Hobson, co-founder of Future of Finance. My guests today are Thomas von Hohenhau, Head of Client Solutions and a member of the Group Executive Management at VP Bank in Liechtenstein, and Marcel Fleisch, Chief Product Officer at VP Bank. Our subject is the tokenization of collectibles. Thomas, Marcel, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dominic.
Hi, Dominic.
Now, earlier this year, VP tokenized a painting on behalf of a client. What were the advantages for that client of doing this?
I think our clients always have three sets of advantages. One is the portfolio integration and the transparency. One is the wealth planning and kind of dividing the asset. And the third is add-on services. That specific client was mainly interested in the portfolio integration and the transparency.
And collateral for loans, are paintings usable in that context as well?
Yes, I think in general it's usable. We have a partner that we work with in this respect. And I think this is definitely one field that some of our clients are interested in. I think most of our clients are rarely only interested in the tokenization, but come with a kind of a specific aim to us.
Uh-huh. So that benefit is there theoretically, but have any of the users of the service so far actually used that option to actually use it as a collateral for a loan with your partner, or is that just a future idea?
I think something we can't obviously give too many details about the specific client, especially now that we haven't had, we just started the service. We have to be a bit more careful with all the information.
But I think in the market, it's quite usual to have a bridge financing, something like that, that is used to the market in the art sector as well in other collectibles. So in general, it's good to see that our clients not only are focused on tokenization alone, meaning usually our clients require a concrete solution, as said by Thomas, like transparency or any inheritance cases, something like that. And the tokenization becomes more a technology would help us to fulfill the needs of the clients.
So if you're looking to leave your art collection to your descendants, actually having it available in a tokenized form makes that much simpler. And I guess if you're looking to lend against that as collateral, having it tokenized and therefore more liquid also makes it much easier to adopt it as collateral. So the advantages to the issuer, if you like, are pretty clear, and they're substantial. What about the advantages of the buyers of the tokens? Is the real attraction here that they can actually get access to these collectible asset classes which previously they couldn't get access to? Or are there other advantages for the buyers?
I think, first of all, we're accessing a complete new kind of group of people, younger people who are interested into that. Through the tokenization, obviously, also the cost of the transaction goes down significantly. That benefits both sides, the seller and the buyer in most of the cases. And thirdly, is actually getting access to opportunities you might not have, through the classical channels. So I think it's all three of them.
To give a concrete example for that, just let's talk about not only about inheritance plan and something like that, but we can absolutely share the assets of our clients. We can also as another example, take part payments. If you buy 15 million fine art at the moment, I think you are getting, some of the people have not the liquidity so far, but they want to buy it. So what you can do, we can say, you buy first 20% and you get 20% of token, and in 6 months later you pay the other 80%. What is the advantage? You don't need any escrow accounts. You don't need any trustees in the background. So it's not only a good solution. No, it's even more efficient and cost efficient.
Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe another example. It also gives you the possibility to maybe invest into artists, before they do the new artwork. Because you actually give a token out for raw materials, for others installation art, and then you as a buyer can participate early enough and buy a part of it, and then have maybe through a smart contract later already have the precise exit scenario in case, or you can be early on and have a relationship with your favorite artist that is a living artist and is producing art at the same moment. So there's a variety, I think, of great things that can do with this.
Benefits, bit like owning NFTs, for example, or indeed tokens in general, give you that personal relationship with somebody whose work you admire. Now, Thomas, you mentioned young people. Is age the main determinant of who invests in the art tokens, or is wealth the main criterion? Are we talking here about a product for high net worth individuals, or are we talking about a product for the mass market investor?
I think it's, the focus that we have at VP, it's definitely on the on the high net worth market. It's pieces that are with a certain value. I think, we try to offer solutions to our customers. It's not really dependent what the technology, for a lot of our clients, technology is actually not important. So I think also the age shouldn't be a problem if they find a solution. Now, obviously, at the moment, I would say there is more interest, and we see that on our social media, of younger people. But I think we try to make the bridge between the old and the new world and make this an attractive offer independently if you're fully into technology or not. That actually is fully irrelevant. So we have clients from all age groups. But no, it's not a mass market product. It's really within the wealth space that we as VP, as a international private bank, are active in.
And just to add on that, it's really crucial to say you have not to be an expert in blockchain or in tokenization anymore, because our solution is in that principle that we say you can use it as you use any other kind of service you get from banks. Meaning you don't have to deal with wallets, you don't have to deal with the keys and blockchain at all. Meaning we give you the full service as you are used to do it with banks, without just having all this kind of stuff done and knowing how the process going on. I think that's the key example. To make it very clear, you have it integrated in your portfolio, in your e-banking, in your portals of VP Bank, as shares, for example, as bonds, for example. It's pretty the same. And that helps you to make it very usable, and the usability is very high.
And on that point, Marcel, I think you've just said that you're custodying the tokens on behalf of the clients. Do they have to use you as the custodian, or can they bring their own digital wallet and purchase the tokens?
No, definitely not. You have to ensure that we can just fulfill all our security and safety reason, quality improvements, and something like that. So you have to we will tokenize the fine art or the watch or whatever else for you, and you have it in our ecosystem, in our portfolio. We don't like the thought that you have a part of a Mona Lisa in your Trust wallet or in a MetaMask wallet, where it's definitely not in a good space, in a good sense. So on your cell phone or something like that. So we ensure it, you have it on your cell phone, but directly in our e-banking, in our apps, that you can absolutely assure, and we can absolutely assure that the quality is high end and you can deal with that.
Yeah, obviously, all the AML and KYC checks are also done internally. We can guarantee all of that. And I think, obviously, there's a lot of discussion out there how we can get standards in transferring amongst institutions. But at the moment, I think it's quite hard to meet the requirements that we have for security reasons. So that's why it's more in a ring-fenced, isolated, but super safe space.
Right. I was going to ask you about that. You are a private bank. You have to follow these KYC, AML, CFT, sanction screening rules laid down by the FATF, I guess. And I assume you do that on both the issuers and the buyers. And you're doing all that in-house, are you? You're not relying on a third-party provider to give you that information?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. And just to clear one thing up, you're a private bank, as I just said. Institutional investors, do you, I assume they're not part of what you're doing now, but do you imagine this market growing into an institutional segment, and it's starting to attract the attention of insurance companies, pension funds, asset managers?
There are some already out there that do, let's say, a fund. And there, obviously, we do have, I think, an attractive solution already now, because through the great Liechtenstein tokenization law, you actually can have some significant cost savings towards the current setup if you want to have an art fund, for example. So there are some players. I don't want to look too far in the future if later on, pension funds will have art collections in their collection. I don't know, but I think at the moment, if we focus on doing what we're doing well, I think that will open up the asset class to a lot of people, and that could also include later on maybe some institutional clients. But I think it's important to focus also on what we have to do now and not just live in the future.
And how many buyers are we talking about at this stage? It's obviously a relatively new service. Are we talking dozens or hundreds or thousands of individual investors?
Yeah, as you said, it's. I think it's early days. We obviously can't disclose the concrete numbers, but there's a lot of interest. I can tell you that. The whole team with Marcel and his guys are fully swamped with work. There is. It goes. I don't know. I want to put a number on there, but it's really a lot of demand, and I think it will exponentially grow over time.
I can tell you that it's a 24/7 at the moment. So we have really good task from everywhere. I think it's fine. We have different client segments who is talking to us, not only to having really serious interests, and we did it sometimes. So, and we will do it next time, and you will hear from us for other collectors as well. But it's really cool to see that even institutionals as well as the artists at same and high net worth individuals, galleries. So it's a broad segment of different clients we will deal with and have to deal with, and we'd love to do that all over the world. That makes it really cool in that sense that we can have here some needs coming up. And just to be precise, if we do it with an investment fund, we just had some offers, some offers out there already. We found out in calculation that we are not only 30 to 40% more cost efficient than traditional solutions we see in the market. No, we are flexible, meaning more flexible in that way that you have the opportunity to just don't use any other structures behind, which will be maintained and you have to set up and all that kind of stuff. No, we can do it directly, meaning that if you have a fine art or any collector, you can have it, and the next day if documentation, everything is fine in your portfolio, and you can bring back out of this portfolio within the next 24 hours, something like that. Meaning you are not only cost efficient, yes, you are more flexible to any other solutions.
Mm-hmm. Now, in those conversations you're having with the potential clients, obviously, as you've just said, speed, flexibility matter. How large does custody of these assets loom in those conversations? Is it a big part of the conversation? Are they very interested in how you do it technically?
I think we have to divide the technical part from where is the fine art placed, if you're talking about custody. So if you talk in the reality, where is the collectible placed? In our solution, we have the opportunity to do it have it in any storage facilities, but as well, it can be in museums, galleries, something where, and in the ETP case, it can even be at home somewhere. From the technical side, I think we have the full transparency. We can give you the full transparency because we are just, if we do the registration with the financial authority, we just had to fill in all the things that needs more than 6 months doing all the kind of process done. And the documentation is really in an absolutely high standard and that everybody can see what you're doing. And then you can safeguard all the kind of stuff where you need it. So I think it is a very transparent process as well, and it's a flexible solution for any needs.
And provenance, how important is that in the fine art market? I mean, can I walk into BP Bank and let's say I got a Caravaggio under my arm here? Would you like to tokenize this for me, or do you have to get involved in proving the provenance of? I assume you do. And how difficult is that?
I think just that's a really important step. That's the reason why we are just only a bank, meaning we just integrated an ecosystem with high-end partners all over the world who just help us to do that, meaning all the provenance things and all that kind of stuff. What we are saying, we have some checklists. We will just bring it that the client gives us all the necessary documentation, and we'll double check this with external expertise, meaning just giving us the safety that this is a real fine art, or the value is good, or storage is good, and the condition reports and something like that. It's the whole process involved and included, and that's the reason why we can just say, yes, it's in a high-end standard quality what we are just providing. And we are dealing just in the future with other parties together who have some mechanisms in place, techniques already to just even better the quality and having a better opportunity, a cost efficiency opportunity as the market standard is. So we are just right on the beginning of that. And we know that the market out there has a lot of solutions in place where we can just bring into our ecosystem to make it more, or to increase the quality of our service.
Well, I'd like to ask you a bit more about that ecosystem, that infrastructure. Before I do, it occurred to me listening to you, is one of the advantages of tokenizing your work of art that actually it solves future provenance and ownership issues? It becomes clear that you really do own this thing and it does have a legitimate history, you acquired it legitimately and so on. Is that one of the benefits of tokenizing your artworks or any collectible?
Definitely, because as we have all the documentations here, and it is said in our tokens, and you can just deal with that. And the big advantage of a blockchain-related service is that there's the blockchain behind. So we have the full transparency of the history and so on and so forth. So that helps us as well. But it is really crucial to involve here only best parties in the world that we just can have this outstanding service. And yes, of course, we just do it not one time. We have a regular, periodically due diligence what we do that we can ensure the quality in a sustainable way.
Now, on that ecosystem infrastructure question, you said you're looking to build a kind of integrated ecosystem. Not like you've invented something here. You're bringing together existing things and making them more efficient and more flexible. How many moving parts are there? How many parties are you having to integrate? There's obviously the custody side, but there's obviously also the owner side, but then there's the people who have to attest to the provenance of the painting and so on. So how complex is this ecosystem that you're integrating?
I can tell you, if you have all documentations with you and just presenting to us, I think it's another 72 hours, something like that, that we can go to the different parties and say double check it, and they get the valuation done, they get all the conditions done, and then it's fine, So it works really, really fast. So it is not complex, even for a collector who has 1-2 kind of pieces. He would like to do that. He's used to have all the conditions. We have seen it with past cases. It is for the owner of the art a good way that he can double check, does he have really all the necessary documents that he can prove the provenance and something like that. And so, but to summarize, usually you can have it in 72 hours done, all the process. If all information is ready here, we can speed up, because then it's only the technical part. But yes, it is the most important process, definitely the kind that we just ensure provenance conditions of the fine art, to double check it. And what is our great advantage? As we are a bank, we can combine other systems with the traditional system, what is used in the fine art or in the collectible sector. And this gives us another perspective where our client is playing a key role. So meaning we have the understanding as a bank, cost of KYC, of all that kind of stuff, where the funds and all the kind of things you have to just check, we have it already in place. And now we have another layer we bring together in with our partners. So I think we have a really, really exciting view for everyone, what can be a new market standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in the ecosystem, it's always dependent also what are the client needs, right? We have different ecosystem partners for different needs, and that's obviously not always relevant for each client. But I think it's the right way to do it, because we cannot do everything at the same time. But what we want to achieve is that once the client has tokenized his assets, he should have as many choices and possibilities to do something with that going forward. So we will expand that ecosystem over time. Obviously, this will not always be relevant for each client, but the optionality that we want to give the client is key to us.
The process you're undertaking is essentially a documentation, validation, authentication process. So that 72 hours you're talking about, it can be done very quickly if it's possible to authenticate the documentation they possess easily. So I literally can't walk in off the street with my Caravaggio, can I?
No, but we might have a different partner if it's watches than if it's a
Yeah.
just as an example.
Yeah.
You know, it's a kind of a kit. You know, you can use that service you need. If you have not a good, we can double check it with you and give you our advice, what we think about it, and give you some contacts, or give you our good partners that you can double check it. So that's a kind of service we additionally just would like to offer to our clients, that they say, okay, I have these services already. Okay, we double check it. It's fine for us, or it's fine for you as well. And if you need any other kind of parties involved, insurance or a storage facility or a valuation partner, something like that, we can say, okay, just use our one. Here are the address, and you get it really to good conditions.
Okay, so it's basically it's a kind of classic private banking concierge service in a way. You can
Perfect,
do it
yes.
all from yeah. Now, I've had the impression from our conversation so far, you're basically working with individual owners. Are you working also with museums and galleries on the one hand, but you mentioned funds on the institutional side, but I wonder if you're working with artists as well. So a double-barreled question there. Do you work with museums and galleries? Are they interested in tokenizing what they've got? And do you work with artists? Are they interested in tokenizing what they're painting or sculpting?
I think it's a yes to all of them. It's very different motives, I guess, and even each, let's say, museum can have an individual motivation to do so. But yes, all of these are, interested, and we'll have conversation with all of these kind of parties.
It's important to say, we are not used to be a distribution channel for them. So, but in general, we see in each case here some needs coming up. As you said, the artist who would like, we have a famous one here in a case, I can't talk about it, but it's really good one to see it. You will see it in September or even in October. In Italy, placed a new sculpture where the artist did come to us and say, can you help us, because I have different investors. How can we just bring it together? So that's really cool. And the other case, for example, is that a gallerist came to us and said, I have a platform in place, but it's for us, it's not used to work with all this stuff need to be done if you deal with clients, for example, all the KYC, all that kind of stuff. So, but it's an SES, you need to do that. So we are here in the back side, meaning on the front side, here's the platform with all the emotions, with all the usability, what is needed for, and what they love to do. And in backbone, we are, and just making the things possible so that everything is fine on a legal side, on a technical side, and even on the service level side.
And that platform you referred to, Marcel, you built that in-house, did you? You built it yourselves?
No, we can use it different platforms, we are just, we are the grounding of that platform, meaning making it possible. Give you an example. In past, we were talking about web shops, where we can buy some fine art or some watches or something like that. So they used to do that in that kind of way. But I think as you see on the regulatory side, that is no longer possible. What you need here is a cool and a great understanding of all the stuff. Who is your client? What about the transaction? You need the history of all of that. So that's the ways where can I say our solution can be the grounding for that kind of platforms, that kind of web shops, that we just make it possible that he can deal with all the kind of services and with all his clients.
Just so I'm absolutely clear about what you're saying here, you can provide all these services you've described, the legal, the technical, and so on any platform that any potential client wishes to tokenize anything. You're not providing a tokenization, a VP Bank branded tokenization platform.
I think not at the moment. We are dealing with that. Perhaps you have seen, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we were on the Art Basel. I think we were in the first bank who just presented a real fine Andy Warhol not only in a virtual art gallery. No, we just put it into a metaverse together with exciting partners. Thanks all to the partners again. It was really cool. Just find out, we don't want to substitute the reality, but there are coming up some needs, some elements what we can use as an add-on services if you're just talking about virtual art galleries or even in metaverse,
Mm-hmm. To be absolutely clear, of course, we tokenize that in-house on our platform for tokenizing and storage. That's obviously an in-house platform, just to be absolutely clear. Mm-hmm. But we can obviously then partner with other distribution platforms and other platforms to make this more scalable.
Right. So it becomes a sort of network of networks eventually as the market grows. What new technologies did you have to invest in to provide these services?
I think Marcel.
Thanks a lot. We have a long history in that. I think we are dealing with blockchain, cryptos, and all that kind of stuff for more than 5 years now. I think it's pretty long for a bank. But what we found out, I think we have to make sure that the key essential instruments you need, the infrastructure, is based in-house. It's a better one. So we have chosen some partners who help us set up a tokenization engine to get all the things done that we can deploy the tokens, or that's technical on that way, on that side, and make it possible that we can just ensure the quality on a long time and in a really sustainable way, Then the storage partner as well, for that thing, we have chosen the best one you can get to make really secure and safe storage available. And I think that's the key elements. Other elements has to do with processes, has to do with documentation, has to do with service partners, what's really crucial as well. But I think the mix of all of that is really, really crucial, that you have here some quality standards where everybody has to secure that kind of standards. And even to make it really sure, we have here redundant, that means 2 solution in place for any process part, so that it makes possible that we say, okay, we are absolutely sure what we're doing here.
And from the client point of view, they can say, well, I want to work with this law firm, I want to work with this art expert, provided you're comfortable with them, that's fine. But you could also say to that client, well, we've got an art expert, we've got a law firm who we think would be very good. So you're kind of bringing together these skills for these tokenization projects, but you're pretty flexible about who you work with.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it needs to be an expert that is renowned and has a good reputation in the market, and so. But it's exactly like that. If a client brings, from a reputable firm, he brings his things, then it's fine, or we can offer it for him, or a combination. This is really the flexibility we want to bring to the table.
Yeah. Now you're in Liechtenstein, which famously has passed this blockchain act, this TVTG legislation, which is one of the most advanced legal descriptions of a token on the planet Earth. Has that been advantageous for you or not?
No, I think it's the fundament of all the things that we do. I think it's an absolute advantage and helped us in this pioneer role that we can take here. And I think without that law, we wouldn't be where we are today.
So let's be precise. It's absolute unfair advantage to any other regulation. And that's the reason why we are using the blockchain. Without this law, it does not make sense, because that gives us the security and the safety that we can just deal with ownership claims, because that's the common sense why Thomas Nägele and Thomas Dönser, the founder of the blockchain law, just installed that kind of law. And this gives us the opportunity to deal with that. And that's the key fundament, as said by Thomas.
Okay, so it gives everyone absolute clarity. What about tax? In some countries, and they include Switzerland, they also include my own country, the United Kingdom, there are tax advantages for owners of arts of work who then make them available to a wider public. Is that tax advantage relevant to the tokenization or not? Does it help to drive activity, or is it just irrelevant?
I think what you can say, we have the full transparency. That is tax relevant. Right. And the other thing is not, because we don't change naturally of the product. So if it is placed anywhere in this world, it is there still, even if it is tokenized. So we don't change about that issue. So it is not just reflecting; it's reflecting the current situation, but it's not setting up a new one.
So we don't give tax advice. I think that's also clear.
Yeah.
But I think it's really just wrapping in a form doesn't change the tax status. But I think transparency in general, what we have obviously helps you if you want to fill out tax forms or documents. With us, you have all your information in one spot. That obviously helps you to speed up the process and makes it maybe more attractive to go for these kind of solutions.
To give you an example for that, we just can, if we do a tokenization together, we can just define how often the reevaluation of the fine art or any other is done. So we can say, okay, we do it yearly, or we do it within 2 years or 3 years at minimum. And you get here on a regular basis, then all the services you need to fulfill your tax requirements. This helps us well. So that's a kind of new service, I think, that the market not have seen so far.
I was going to ask you about that. We're talking about transparency, but I guess having transparent valuations on a regular basis actually is advantageous for the point of view of tax reporting and tax compliance, isn't it? Now, you've created this service, and it's obviously working with certain client groups. How are you going about and you mentioned you'd been at Art Basel. How do you go about selling a service of this kind? Obviously, you do it through your existing network of clients, but is there other stuff you do? Are you holding client events and going to other art fairs? Is that the natural way to sell it?
I think it's a mix, of course. It's a balance between obviously relationships we have or introductions that we get, so kind of one-to-one. At the same time, we obviously also do communication and events. Art Basel, we were at the World Economic Forum and others. And normally that always generates another buzz, and then people introduce us. So it's a good balance of both, and we obviously also have to make sure that we have the resources to then also, I think that's what Marcel always. There's a lot of demand, so we really need to make sure that we also have enough time for each of the clients. So it's a balance act all the time. But I think what we can really see is there's a lot of interest in this, and since we have a solution that really focuses on solving of problems and not so much the technology background, we do get a lot of interest also from, let's say, players that haven't been so much into the technology beforehand.
Does it make sense to work with the major auction houses? I'm thinking Sotheby's, Christie's, or are they competitors of yours?
No, I don't think they're competitors. We are just in talk with them as well, because they are just having another kind of setup. We just need to integrate and have to integrate in our service level, in our ecosystem. If we are then in the role of an orchestrator or even a part of the ecosystem, that is the key issue. But I think for future, there will be an opportunity to work together, definitely. And we will just head it with other partners as well. I've seen that there are some good combination tasks to done where we can use the good service quality of both sides to just fulfill the needs of our clients.
Now, we've talked a lot, almost exclusively really about fine art here, but there is a bigger opportunity here for collectibles in general, indeed tokenization in general. So tell me, what other digital asset services have you developed or are thinking about developing or offering now?
Yeah, I think at the moment we really try to focus on the collectible side because we do believe that there's a tremendous potential, and also we have the clientele in that. But obviously, we do look at real estate and mutual funds, but I think there are some of these, there's still, let's say, some challenges out there, like land registries and so on, that will take some time. But we are quite embedded into the, let's say, the whole scene, and we get a lot of requests. So we are talking and interested, but at the moment, our main focus definitely is on the collectible side, where we think we have a unique chance to be one of the pioneers and global leaders.
We just, the starting point of all of this was a survey we did with our clients. And the coming out was really, really crucial for us, how we should deal with it, which service we should start to provide. And collectibles were absolutely prioritized of each client and each survey. So it was obviously to start with that.
The same client base are bound to be owners of real estate. They're bound to be invested in private equity funds, hedge funds, and they might well be interested in making some of those privately managed assets more liquid for exactly the same reason as they're interested in tokenizing their collectibles. So as you look forward, I mean, you've been clear that this is more about the future than the present, but is this part of your strategic thinking here, is that actually this could become a very valuable service for clients across a wide range of assets which they own?
I think it's really also about how are the fundamental, as said, for real estate as an example, the land registries are, a problem. So that needs to be solved before that really can be used. And we are trying to focus on real use cases that bring real value now. I think, and if the circumstances change, we will adapt. And I think with the experience that we have here, with the in-house experience, we will be quite fast in adapting that. And a lot of the technological infrastructure that we have built will easily allow to do so. Normally, let's say the things that are hindering or stopping us is that there is some legal things that need to be sorted out beforehand and so on. But as said, if you look at the collectible side, it's a huge market already. So if we can grow here, that will give us a lot of also credibility and experience to also adapt this in other asset classes later.
But you can be sure that all cases you mentioned, we have already double checked. And yes, of course, there are some use cases coming up, but as said by Thomas, really, really correctly, absolutely. There must be use case. It must be a solution. Without a solution, it doesn't work. Where's the value for that? We are looking for value, that's the difference. But yes, doing something, making bankable in that side, that helps. But used to, I think the best starting point, the best potential is in the collectible side.
Thomas, you mentioned a number of times that land registries are a problem. Just to be clear, is the problem that they either don't exist or the information they hold is inadequate, or?
No, that's where currently the ownership is registered. The representation of the ownership is in that register, and then that means it can't be really on the token. So you would have to have a structure around again, and then it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Okay. So you'd have to break their monopoly, as it were, over ownership registration.
Well, monopolies, that's how it's grown in most of the countries for hundreds of years. And some countries are working on this and digitalizing it and so on. And if that happens, we obviously would be very interested. But as said, I think there's a lot of current problems that we can really solve with the current things that we have, and we're trying to focus on that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the UK. Of course, some real estate has been owned for so long that it doesn't actually appear on the land register. You only get there when it's actually traded. I think something like 40% of the country is not on the register at all. Anyway, it sounds like you guys are sitting on top of a very interesting opportunity. In very broad terms, how big do you think tokenization is going to become in private banking, private wealth management, as we look forward over the next 10, 15, 20 years?
Well, I think in general, what you see already in the space is that, there's more and more asset classes that get more attention. If you look at the hype that you see in the watch industry, if you look at the art prices going forward, the real estate is rising everywhere. It's increasingly hard, even before the shakedown of the market. So I think in general, the next generation, this is even more true. People will have a broader view of asset classes. And I think all of them who are physical asset classes but need to be managed are, kind of a good way to do that is through tokenization. So I think that there will be a tremendous amount going into it, especially since a lot of states will require more and more transparency also in the tax returns on non-bankable assets. And in a certain extent, we can make non-bankable to bankable and make it more easy to handle with. I think there's a bright future for tokenization in wealth management, especially.
And Marcel, the shakedown, which Thomas refers to, the re-rating of the cryptocurrency, the DeFi, the token markets, if you like, more broadly, that hasn't changed the nature of the conversations you're having. People still see the logic.
We are not reflecting the effects, what's going on in the crypto market, because we are not involved in that. Definitely not. We only have to pay the gas fees for the token, and that's all. So for us, it's sorry to say that, but for us, it's better if the rates, if the values of the cryptos are going down, because then we have lower gas fees to tokenize all the assets. But it all, yes, I think this community is good. It helps us and gives us another opportunity. And I know that a lot of guys are dealing with that. And you just said about the NFT market. Coming back from the NFT market, a lot of guys we see would say, okay, no, I would like to have a next step, not an NFT, of a JPEG. No, I would like to have real art included. And on that case as well, some of the guys who just used NFTs for just tokenizing real art and just found out that it does not work. So they asked us now, and just asking still, there's coming more and more reflection from the market. Can we work together to make it possible that we can use it? And to give an example, then it's really easy, you know, meaning we are just reflecting the ownership side, meaning tokenizing ownership claims and having our tokens in-house and all the kind of stuff is needed to do it in a really safe, secure, and regulatory absolute fair way. And the NFT is used for usership tokens, meaning just reflecting that you can have the digitalized art within the next certain days, or some all kind of other goodies, what is involved. And I think that's a really good combination. And there we will see in the next 12 years, there's coming the market together. Then I think it's in a good way. And I think that's a good way how NFTs are placed.
So the shakedown, as it were, in the speculative end of the market has actually been positive for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I think, I mean, in general, it's really, we are in a niche about tokenization of physical, goods and property and ownership rights. It's very, I mean, has almost nothing to do in our conversations. As I said, there's a bit lower prices means lower cost for us. That's fine, but it's minimal. I think generally the NFT space has opened up discussions in the art world and new ways, and I think that helps us. I think there, as Marcel just mentioned, there can be nice combinations that you have the ownership of, let's say, the physical artwork, and then you use NFTs as an engagement tool. And there's different ways of doing. I think at the moment, let's say, we have to do a lot of education because there's people don't distinguish all the things and they put things in one basket. So where it might have an influence that sometimes we have to use the beginning of a conversation to separate the things where it belongs and make sure that we have the right conversations, because most of the stuff has nothing to do with what we do.
Yeah. Well, Thomas von Hohenhau, Marcel Fleisch, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us, and make sure you keep us posted of your progress.